Namaskaram, Vanakkam. Delighted to interact with the audience of PGurus channel. I'm happy about it because they are very, very perceptive and their comments are very useful. Thank you. Today we will look at the issue of the nomination of Draupadi Murmu by the NDA as the presidential candidate. After consultation with various groups and parties, I am sure they would have arrived at this consensus and it has been announced. And if you ask me, many experts may not have realized it. It's a massive tectonic change in the Indian polity as well as in Indian society. First and foremost is Draupadi Murmu belongs to Santal tribe. She comes from Odisha. The most important point is she is a graduate and she has occupied various positions like governor, and she was earlier minister in Orissa government. But most important is she is very, very what one can call devoted Sanatani. Actually, a picture after her being nominated released says how she went and worshipped Lord Shiva, and then she whispered to the ear of the Nandi. This is something very interesting. All over India, I find people go and whisper to the ear of Nandi. This is something common I find from Kashmir to Kanyakumari or Ahmedabad to Agartala. So this is something very, very interesting. Earlier we had COVID who was belonging to 𝙒𝙖𝙩𝙤𝙦 community. Now Murmu belongs to tribal or Vanvasi, or as they are popularly known as Adivasis community. And Kovind also one has to express our gratitude because of his exemplary behavior. Not a single criticism or not a single fault during his tenure. And he has been a very, very, what I would rather call matured and sober role model. And so all our thanks should go to him. Now, Murmu is the second woman candidate. First was Pratibha Patel, if you recall. But in the case of Pratibha Patel, she was actually the housemaid and the cook for Indira Gandhi after her defeat in the post-emergency election. And so to that extent, she was rewarded for being very, what one can call, closely associated with Indira Gandhi and served her. And she didn't, I would say, carry herself in a very exemplary manner. Actually, at the time of her retirement, it is alleged that she took away 21 trucks load of goods, and even those trucks have not been returned. Anyhow, so being a second woman is one of the interesting characteristics for Draupadi. And the Draupadi name, when it is being mentioned, I was smiling because in Tamil Nadu, the what I call the DK virus or DMK fungus, permanently they have been abusing Draupadi of the Mahabharat fame throughout their political campaign and lectures and other things. They used to treat Draupadi as if she is the root cause of all the Sanatana problems and other things. Actually, if you look at it, Draupadi was an extraordinary character in Mahabharata. And many people say that she is one of the major characters. I would say, but for her, there would not be any Mahabharata at all. Because of her only, the entire Mahabharata was anyhow. So these people of that Dravida persuasion have to now go to Draupadi in order to get their representation heard, in order to get their all those whining and cursing of the Tamil Nadu governor to be represented to her. Anyhow, that's a minor issue. Important issue is our nomination reveals two things. One is, let's be clear, the polity has completely shifted to in the hands of OBC across all political parties. It used to be in the hands of the what you may loosely call as upper caste in the pre-independence time as well as post-independence time. But now it is completely with the ability of the OBCs particularly of the BJP line, to have clear understanding of the aspirations of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is something very, very extraordinary. It's not antagonistic relationship. It's much more in terms of appreciation and recognition. So to that extent, the nomination of Kovind or nomination of Draupadi Murmu represent the nature of the coalition which has emerged. And significantly, one has to thank, I am very sure, RSS for this, because they have been working among the Vanvasis for a long period of time. Ekal Vidyalayas, which are now numbering around 60,000 or so, maybe more, has played an extraordinary role in the tribal areas in order to facilitate the type of small level but still education of the children. Another important point is we have two major, actually Manmohan Singh categorized this as the single largest threat for India, the Naxal problem. Naxalites are used to be strong in 180 districts around 2010-11. Now it is told they are strong in 25-26 districts. Practically in Andhra Pradesh, they are not much present after this Black Cobra and all these things. Now they are more concentrated in the central part of India, in the sense that Godavari Valley, which is there. Other part is western part of Haura, in terms of your Jharkhand and Bihar areas. This side it is more in terms of Chhattisgarh, Orissa, and adjacent places, what you may loosely call Dandakaranya. Now, she comes from Orissa, and the Naxal movement will have a significant amount of an impact due to her, because she is going to be the supreme commander of our armed forces. Let's be very clear about it. So they will have to answer the questions of the cadres belonging to the tribals whom they are supposed to represent and fight about the supreme commander and whose armed forces are going to deal with them. This is one interesting thing which is going to take place. And already, of course, their ideology all over the world has failed, and this Maoism is not being talked about everywhere, including in China. The only place where communism is having some amount of discussion is North Korea, where that fellow comes out every periodic once a week and then fires a rocket and goes back. And other places, as I always maintain, that Daba outside JNU and a couple of chai shops in Kerala. That's all. Anyhow, so the Naxals are going to have a difficult time in terms of explaining to the new recruits and youngsters about this issue. It cannot be just wished away that Murmu is appointed just to placard, or you don't, just to please some group, appoint them as president of the country. You may give them some other position, another. And as president, of course, she will occupy the presidential palace. And I am sure good number of people from her village, from her community, from her, they will be visiting Delhi as well as the Rashtrapati Bhavan. I wish they visit. If not, they should be taken there. And their interaction there, their access there, and that will be a major revolutionary eye opener for the entire belt of these tribals in Orissa as well as in adjacent places. That's one dimension. Second dimension is church would have also been extremely concerned. You might have heard about that Stan Swami who was there in Chhattisgarh and other Jharkhand places, and he was also later arrested. And see, the church has always been playing a very phenomenal role in terms of what they call in terms of the soul harvesting or planting the cross. Everywhere in this tribal belt, they were also misleading. Sometimes they were used to say that Saint Joseph or Saint Thomas, that ST, S small t, is actually S capital T type of thing, representing scheduled tribe, which is totally wrong. Anyhow, misleading, and this is one of the many methods by which they were using to convert the gullible and innocent people. Unfortunately, at the time of post-independence, when it was discussed, SCs were told if you convert to other religions, you will not be getting the benefits of being a Hindu. That is, other religion mean in terms of Christianity and other things, and not Buddhism. Because Buddhist, Jains, and these were all considered as part and parcel of Hindu system, Sikhs. But in the case of STs, this was not made applicable. Again, of course, one can go back in history and go on discussing and blame it on Nehru, as it is nowadays very popular, right? So you can convert into Christian and continue to avail of the benefits as a scheduled tribe. This facility was made available to them, and this is the major point for the missionaries to operate among the tribals and try to convert them. And now a non-tribal, one who has supposedly not come out of her darkness, and one who has soul is not harvested, she is now going to be the head of the republic. So this church also would have been very much what one can call upset. And whatever little reports I read, she has been vociferously campaigning against this conversion to Christianity by Hindus over a period of time. So these are the two groups, Naxals and Church, who are going to be impacted. And the more important message is that this is an accommodating republic. This is not an antagonistic republic. This is an accommodating republic. And it's you can't imagine something like this happening in any other so-called quote-unquote developed democracies. You can't have what one can call a person of Indian origin in USA or in Australia, old origin, to be made as a head of the country. Forget about being executive president. So this is something very, very important, and this is, according to me, a major tectonic shift. It has clearly shown in our polity as well as in our decisions. Of course, people say that Modi ji is responsible for it. It's not a one-man decision. Let's be very clear about it. Large number of people in BJP and the supporting parties would have to be consulted, and their views have to be taken and other thing. And so this is something which is a very, very interesting thing. The general ruling group in the polity has accepted the need for having a scheduled tribe person to be the chief of our armed forces. It's very, very, I can't, I have not come out of that, what you call joy or whatever you call it, dream or something. Very coming from a very, very poverty-stricken place and one of the most backward areas, this lady, Draupadi Murmu, is going to be the chief of the commander-in-chief, supreme commander-in-chief of our armed forces. Everybody has to salute her and everybody has to give enormous amount of recognition to her. And I am very, very confident, given her background, given the nature of the training which has been adopted by her, given the nature of her experience, she will carry herself in an exemplary manner. And this decision is a major breakthrough decision, if you call it. In the next 10-15 years, when history is looked back, people will say that the decision to have Draupadi Murmu as our president is one of the major, what one can call cutting edge decisions. And time for a tectonic shift. And thanks to the matured politics and the matured type of decision making. Thank you.